Welcome to Whiskey's a Journey. My name is Peter Fossiano. Today is Friday. I have another bottle battle for you. If you're not familiar with this segment, I have a whole bunch of whiskeys matched up and that I put in my sample pool. I am whiskey promiscuous, which means this matchup could be a matchup between two scotches, two peated scotches, two Japanese, two bourbons, two ryes. You get the idea. I have them stickered here on the bottom so I can keep track of it. I'm going to nose them and taste them, figure out which one I like the most. I'll pop the bottles up so you have an idea of what it is that I am tasting. And then at the end of the video, I'll grab the bottles, refresh my memory as to why I put this battle together, and look at the proof and the price of both of these. If you are new here and you end up liking this video and you're not subscribed, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Consider becoming part of a Patreon. I have a link to my Patreon account in the description below. Click on that. I have multiple tiers to choose from. You get access to my whiskey collection. I do curated flights and I do monthly giveaways. All right, glass number one is coming across as pretty much a straight up bourbon. Caramel, vanilla, brown sugar, a little bit of a cola note, slight amount of spice. I think this is straight over home plate of what I would think a bourbon would smell like. Not a whole lot to it, not a lot of burn to it. I'm not getting any ethanol or acetone notes. It's just a straight up bourbon. Smells like whiskey. All right, let's go ahead and get it on the palate. That is extremely sweet, like really sweet. I have a slight amount of red fruit. It's like a nondescript red fruit. Could be bubble gum, like Hubba Bubba, could be strawberry, could be cherry, maybe a combination of red berries. High sweetness, low spice. Not a whole lot of burn as far as ABV goes. Wow, that is just a very nice tasting, what I'm thinking is a bourbon. Nothing wrong with that one. Now let me go ahead and get a second sip there. All right, second sip, a little bit more of the same. Very high sweetness, low spice. Maybe getting a little bit of oak. There is a chocolate note coming through. Those red fruit notes are there as well. Not very proofy. It's not really developing in anything. It's pretty much a bourbon from arrival to mid-palate to finish. Very good. I'd say kind of an average tasting whiskey. Took two big sips. So I got to hold on to this because I might have to go back to it after tasting glass number two. Yeah. I wouldn't say that there's really anything wrong with glass number one at all. Let me get a rinse of water, let my palate calm down a little bit, and then move on to glass number two. All right, glass number two. Well, I don't like the way that smells. You know, that acetone note that I was talking about that I was getting on my palate and on the nose over the course of the last couple of months, it is like tenfold coming out of this one. This smells like a harsh bourbon. I'm not getting a whole lot of sting on the nose, so maybe not a very proofy pour. But it's acetone, and it just smells, and I'm comparing it to glass number one. Smells like a very cheap bourbon. Undertones, very slight brown sugar, caramel, vanilla. It's the only thing that I'm really getting that's giving me bourbon vibes. Low spice, maybe a little bit of sweetness. It's opening up in the glass just a little bit. There's a good pepper spice note that's coming through. And a slight amount of cotton candy sweetness. So it's opening up a little bit from that first nosing. Let's go ahead and get it on the palate, see if any of that's there. Okay, much better on the palate than on the nose. There's a good sweetness, good spice. Traditional bourbon notes, I would say these are comparable as far as brown sugar, caramel, vanilla. I think if you're looking for traditional bourbon notes, both of these glasses have exactly that. I don't think glass number two is as complex or has as much depth as glass number one has. I don't think either one of these have a lot of depth, but the flavors and the sweetness that I'm getting out of glass one, I like more than glass two. Tell you what, glass two is definitely redeemed on the palate because the nose, I was just about ready to call this quits. But this has started to open up. I do like the flavors. The flavors are not changing. It is just a standard bourbon all the way through from mid-palate to finish. I would say on the arrival, it is a little bit tingy, but after you get through that tinge or sharpness, I think it evens itself out. All right, let's go ahead and get a second sip in, see if I can say anything more about it. Boy, I tell you what, I just took a sniff of it. I do not like the way this smells. All right, get it on the palate, second sip. All right, second sip, I think some of that sharpness is starting to come through on the sip as well. It's becoming a little bit more spice forward. That cotton candy note is still there. I don't think it is as rich or as sweet as glass number one. I think glass number one, to me, is going to take this battle. Glass number two also has a good cinnamon note. I would say that it is more spice forward than it is sweet, and glass number one is more sweet than it is spice. I don't think either one of them have very much proof to them. They're not very exciting, but I think glass number one is at least a little bit more exciting than glass number two. All right, I was thinking that I was going to need to go back and test out glass number one again. I don't think so. I think glass number one is going to be the clear winner here. They're both falling a little bit thin on the palate. There's not a whole lot of excitement in either one of them, but I just like the flavors in glass one over glass two. So let's go ahead and figure out what it is that I am drinking in glass number two. If by chance you've had either one of these, let me know how they fared for you in a blind in the comments down below. All right, so glass number two, there is no sticker on this. It's on my lap. So glass number two, I hope, is glass number two, Evan Williams bottled in bond. I have Evan Williams bottled in bond matched up to a whole bunch of other bottled in bond products in my sample pool. A lot of people love Evan Williams, and each time I do a review on it, they don't say how wrong I am, but they definitely come out and defend Evan Williams. It's never done well for me in blinds. I think it has won one blind battle since I've had it in this, and I think I'm up to maybe 5 samples of this in there. So I don't know if this is my very last matchup or if I have maybe 1 or 2 more samples of Evan Williams going up against other things. So glass number one, my preference over the Evan Williams, okay, is the Early Times. Early Times Bottle of Bond. Tell you what, Early Times packs a punch. I think it's a very good budget whiskey or a budget bourbon that has decent flavors that put it a notch above whatever level you would consider the bottled and bond or the Early Times to be at. And if I'm not mistaken, it's a liter bottle. So let me go ahead and grab the bottles. I think these are pretty good budget bottles, and obviously they're bottled and bond, but I think the price is going to have a little bit of a tell to it. So let me grab the bottles and be right back. Okay, so the Evan Williams Bottle and Bond White Label, $18.99 when I first purchased this. Early Times, 100 proof. They're both 100 proof because they're both bottled and bond. And I paid $21.99 for this. And this is is it a liter? Yep, 1 liter on the back. So yeah, this was a pretty good matchup. I think Evan Williams does have a place in or on my shelf. I don't go to it very often, but I think this is relegated to me, obviously, in blinds. And it's also something that I think would be really good in cocktails. You know, the Early Times Bottle and Bond, I think this would also be really good in an old fashioned, but I can also see myself drinking this neat. So only thing left to do, I don't have a whole lot left in either one, but just like always, we need to try a blend and see how that is. Let me know how you guys use Evan Williams. Is it something that you drink by itself, drink it neat? Do you put it in cocktails? Or is it something that you just don't purchase at all? Let me know the same thing about Early Times. Early Times seems to be hit or miss in some areas. Some people see it all the time, other people's markets. Other people have a market that they don't see it at all. All right. On the nose, I think I'm getting more of the Early Times than I am the Evan Williams. It's nothing fantastic, but I think it's weighted a little bit heavier towards the profile of the Early Times. Go and get it on the palate. All right, that's not bad. I think that's a good combination of the sweet from the Early Times and the spice of the Evan Williams. Pleasantly surprised out of that. That spice level is starting to rise. There is a little bit of oaky or char settling underneath the tongue. I like that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. Again, Patreon account, peruse through that. Take a look at the tiers if you decide to join. Pick a tier that works for you. And wherever you're at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it. We'll talk to everybody later. Bye.